Hi, I'm Bob Brunkow, and I'm here to show you a little bit about Companionship, my West Bay 58. Companionship is a 2002 Sonship, and it's called a West Bay 58. Technically, it measures about 65 from stem to forward edge of the bow pulpit. At least that's what you pay for when you pay for moorage. We've had the boat for a few years now, and I'm the second owner. The boat's equipped with a pair of 3806 Cat diesels, twin turbo, generating each 800 horsepower. That's, I believe, at max throttle. We run the boat considerably less than that. I bought the boat really for two missions. One was to cruise around Vancouver Island, which we did, and the second purpose was to go to Alaska. And we've completed 6 trips to Alaska, all through southeast Alaska, and exploring out on the west side of Prince of Wales Island. It turned out to be the exact right boat to do this trip on, or multiple trips on anyway. Very comfortable, very safe, all the power you need, and all the amenities you need to be comfortable for an extended cruise. One thing that's unique about Companionship, if you notice, it's got an enclosed hardtop, and that was added about a year after the boat was constructed. And the enclosed hardtop really makes it ideal for Alaska cruising. It really makes it completely enclosed and weather tight, and it's very, very comfortable on cold Alaska days, but I've also found it very comfortable in the sunny days when it's a little bit hot. The isinglass slides back so you can open it up to get plenty of air in there. Makes it very easy to open it up to get all the air in there you want. At the same time, easy to close during bad weather conditions. We found that the enclosed flybridge is one of the most significant assets. When I selected the boat, I zeroed in on two things: the size of the Cat engines, 800 twin turbos. The second thing that was my deciding factor of all the 58s I looked at was the enclosed hardtop flybridge, which is really a significant asset in terms of comfortable cruising in both hot conditions as well as cold conditions. One thing I've really enjoyed about the boat, particularly as we go in open sea conditions, we went around the outside of Vancouver Island. The rail system is very substantial on the West Bay. They use serious hardware and safe hardware where you've got plenty of deck space to walk up to go to the bow and the anchor system. And the walk around on the West Bay is really, really terrific. A couple of things that I've learned to appreciate is the Glendinning automatic retract system on the power. It has a 50 amp power system with electric reel, so it makes it very easy to take the power in and out and keep the power cord out of the water and away from the salt corrosion. Another feature that's been fun when we get into warm waters like Desolation Sound for swimming is we have a washdown system in the back here with a shower with hot water, and it's great if you've got salty feet, wet kids, or maybe even wet pets. But that's sure been something we've used a lot. This whole rail system comes off and can be stored. We typically bring our dinghy alongside the back here, and we set this rail over here, and it makes it easy egress and ingress getting on and off the boat with the tender. On the top deck of the boat is a hydraulic winch system that lowers the tender into the water, and the boat comes with a 14-foot, I believe it's 12 or 14-foot Rendova with a 40 Yamaha. And that gets up and scoots and takes you around the exploring. At one point we did about 260 miles of exploring on the west side in the Rendova, and it was a fun boat to do that in and easy to get on and off the boat. Let's take a look inside. Well, we'll go on inside Companionship. One thing I've particularly liked is the French door system that opens it up, gives lots of air and light into the cabin during a nice summer day. I was going to mention one thing that we have that comes with the boat that's pretty important is we have long-term moorage on J7 here at Roche Harbor, and arrangements can be made for you to, or whoever purchases a boat, to take over the lease on that slip. And it's a It's a very, very to die for slip. The closest slip on the new dock here at the marina. I got my helper here. And in any event, it's a hard slip to get a hold of, and arrangements could be made to make that available with the boat. Let's take a look inside this main salon here. Very spacious. We've got plenty of place for storage of glassware, silverware, a wine cabinet here for lots of bottles of wine and wine glasses. By the way, we've never broken a wine glass yet on our trips to Alaska, not once. And storage for more glassware and party stuff and things like that. And plenty of storage under here. The couch system has storage under each of the parts of the couch here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 storage locations here. The boat has altogether something like 57 separate storage locations. So one thing you're not going to run out of is a place to store stuff. You just have to remember where you put it. And I actually made a logbook of each of the storage locations, what's in there, because you'll start duplicating. There's a really cool high-low table. It was a custom-made table, hydraulic lift, folds out, and is great for entertaining. We have 4 little stools that go around here for sitting, so you can sit 6 or 8 people in here pretty easy for evening entertaining. In the back here, it's not easy to see in the video, but we have a heavy-duty curtain that goes behind here for TV watching. So if you got an emergency football game on a sunny day, we're able to darken down the cabin to see really well the TV. We have a HD TV I'll show you. This is the entertainment center, full suite of equipment for entertaining, and with HD TV, and it's set up with a gyro stabilized satellite on Dish network, and it provides plenty of TV watching. We also have a automatic ice maker, and that works pretty well. More storage behind here. Something we've really enjoyed a lot is this disappearing television system. It's a disappearing HD TV, I believe it's Panasonic, and so it's kind of cool. Comes up, great for viewing, and it's I think it's 26-inch TV, and it's got a real bright screen so you can see on a sunny day. But the neat thing is cruising or using it as a buffet table works out really well. Disappearing, getting out of the way, and if nothing else, the grandkids are just thrilled to show it off to their friends, and kind of a highlight of their tour of the boat. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pilot house. Take 3 steps up from the main salon, and we have a full functioning control station, navigation system for the boat. So there are 2 here, one at the pilot house and second up above in the flybridge. Virtually all of the instrumentation controls are duplicated up and lower. So there's full redundancy for the boat, both for control of the vessel as well as navigation of the vessel, including radar, hydraulics, alarm systems, and so forth. Let's take a look at some of the detail of the instrumentation at the pilot house. In the main salon, we have a full complete DC electronic panel that controls all of the 12 and 24 volt systems on the boat, and there's a second DC panel as you enter the main salon on the starboard side. This is one of 4 climate control stations that controls both heat and air conditioning. We have one in the main salon, one in the master control area here, and 2 down below in the living spaces. And that provides both heat and air conditioning. In addition to that, there's a separate S-bar heating system on the boat, independent, that provides heat based off of a diesel S-bar furnace on the boat. And getting cold in this boat is something that's not going to happen. In the main pilot house, we have the remote control here for the freshwater maker. It's a sea recovery system that has been very reliable and very useful on the boat. I forget the gallon per hour, but it makes all the water you need with cruising with several families on the boat. And the water, you can't tell it from tap water. It's just works out great. And we use that a lot, particularly in our trips to Alaska, where we're away from the shore quite a bit. Moving up the panel, we have a new Icom 604 top-of-the-line VHF transceiver, and with an integrated DSC system to the GPS system, so it'll transpond your position in the event of emergency. Up here, control of the audio system throughout the boat. There's a background music system with individual speaker controls for each room in the boat. A weather station, amusing if nothing else. We have trim tabs that are hydraulic trim tabs for leveling out the boat, pitch and port and starboard. Up here is a lower station Fruno 65-mile radar, open array. It works very well. Keyboard control for the master computer in the boat. Down here we have the Robertson autopilot, which is duplicated up above. Down here, and I'll show it better to the right here, but it's a digital CAT engine control system that monitors something like 80 parameters a minute of the engine. A digital compass by KVH, and depth indicator here, speed indicator here, and then the one of the three navigation displays that displays the boat's position, including AIS targets. Hydraulic steering here, and this is Cobalt digital controls that allows you to digitally set the precision the RPM of the engines, and it also has a trolling mode for slow speed control if you want to troll with the boat. I think it's a little bit too big of a boat to troll with, but it could be done, I suppose. I haven't done it. And this selects the stations. We have 3 control stations on the boat, one in the aft cockpit, which is handy for docking, and of course on the flybridge, the control station up there, and the control station here. So you've got 3 different ways to control the forward and aft motion of the boat, port and starboard. Bunch of switches here that control the windshield wipers, heating, lighting, washdown, things like that. To the right we have a separate Fruno depth sounder, and of course that's duplicated upstairs. A separate Fruno GPS, which is also duplicated upstairs. For each engine there's a digital readout of the parameters of the engine, including fuel flow, vacuum on the engines, and RPM and temperatures, maybe 4 or 5 temperature monitoring systems. Top right we have the helm indication, whether the helm is midship, forward, or start. We check that before we ever take off in the boat. Down here is a Westmar stabilizer system, and that has been really useful. And you can control the gain of the stabilizers. So these are hydraulic Westmar stabilizers, and have been very useful on the boat. The boat is just like riding on a train track the majority of the time. Down here we have hydraulic bow thrusters. Important that they are not electric, but they're hydraulic bow thrusters. And as you get into some of the higher currents up in Alaska, you really appreciate having significant and very powerful bow thrusters as you work your way into some docks that have pretty substantial currents. And hydraulic windlass system can be controlled from in here, forward, or up on the flybridge. And the hydraulic system, we've got something like 400 feet of chain, I believe it is, with a pretty substantial anchor, and we're able to anchor in some pretty deep water. Over here is a Fireboy monitoring system with a halon equivalent in the engine room, and fire suppression indications. Over here we control the 2 generators. We have a 20 kW and a 12 kW Northern Lights generator. Provides all the power on the boat you can need. And I like the redundancy of having 2 separate generators, and that has worked out very well. Up here we monitor the tankage on the boat, how much water we have on the boat, and we're able to pretty accurately know how much water we have and where we are there. The engine room test system monitors bilges, engines, temperatures, thrusters, and so forth for proper operation. Let's take a look around the galley. We're up in the galley area, and we'll show you what that is. In the galley, it's well laid out, compact but functional for working even while underway, which we've certainly done a lot of. It's an all-electric galley, and again, we've got 2 significant generators on the boat, so power has never been an issue. On the top rear, we have a microwave oven, which has been used a lot, a Krug coffee maker, a double stainless steel sink with a instant hot, and to the left of it is a double wide GE refrigerator freezer, which has worked out really well. It's a full-size type refrigerator you'd find at home. And inside the galley there's a trash compactor, which we virtually never use, but it's there. And then we have a Whirlpool electric range and oven, and 4-burner electric cooktop. Full suite of knives, and there's even an engineering drawing for the knife container system. Overhead, multiple storage areas for the cabinets. One thing this boat is definitely not short of is storage area. There's just a ton of it on the boat. On companionship, we have a lower area and a spiral staircase down to 2 staterooms plus a separate private office. And in the master stateroom, we have, I believe, a king-size bed with storage on both sides of the bed. A lot of storage area in the stateroom, including 2 cedar-lined closets and a laundry facility. In the master stateroom, we also have a master head, and that includes a shower with lots of storage area and a vacuum flush head system. There's a vacuum flush head system also forward, and there's also a tank monitoring system for the black water. A couple of features we've really enjoyed in the boat. One of the most significant ones is the built-in laundry room, and it has a true separate washer and dryer, much better than the combined ones. And the washer and dryer served us very well on multi-month trips, combined with the ability to make fresh water and the generators. So we've had no issue with maintaining clean laundry throughout our cruises. Another feature we've particularly enjoyed, we keep most of our first aid equipment, defibrillator, and storage in this boat. The amount of storage on the boat is absolutely amazing. There's not an inch of space wasted for storage capability. You just have to remember where everything is stored. Speaking of storage, we've got a really neat built-in walk-in closet, cedar-lined, and hanging closet for clothes. And it has been really handy for keeping both winter and summer clothes in there in a cedar-lined closet. There's a second cedar-lined closet also in the master stateroom. As I mentioned, there's just an amazing amount of storage in this boat. And in the master stateroom, there's actually a hatch that comes up, and you have a fairly significant area to store things like suitcases, charts, vacuum cleaners, things like that you don't use on a daily basis. On the companionship, the mid space in the lower level is used for a office area, and a lot of file storage area, all of the ship's documents and engineering drawings, and a separate navigation station. So I tend to do most of my navigation down here, and then the data moves up to both the pilot house and up to the bridge. I can change navigation up there, but down at this office it's just a lot more convenient. We have Wi-Fi throughout the boat on board, but I tend to do most of my emails and navigation work from this office. If someone does have a desire, this particular area can be converted back into a third stateroom, and West Bay does a retrofit on that to convert this from an office to a stateroom. In our case, we found 2 staterooms is more than adequate. Occasional overflow, we'll use the bunks on the flybridge or in the main salon, but we have enjoyed having the office area here for a variety of reasons. In the office area, there's another hatch. That hatch leads to another compartment for storage, and we've actually stored a freezer down there, a operating freezer, and there's power for the freezer. In the guest stateroom, which is also on the second level down, we've got a queen-size bed and HD TV, multiple storage areas, including a cedar-lined closet area. And below the bed itself, we have a storage area for man overboard. We call them Gumby suits or survival suits. And I believe we have 4 of those stored there under the bed for quick access. There's also a forward hatch to get out. That stateroom has its own air and heating system in it. And so you can be cool or warm as you desire. It adjoins a forward head, which has its own private entryway. And the way it's set up is someone can use the forward head and still have privacy in the forward stateroom or vice versa. So that's a unique thing on this particular West Bay 58 that's not found elsewhere, is this door that provides privacy either way. We're up on the flybridge, which is my favorite spot. This is where I tend to do 99% of my driving or operating from. In my hand is a it's a sat phone, and with full worldwide satellite services for both voice and data from the boat, gyro stabilized, so it's got full coverage. And the other item in the hand here, which we use all the time, is the Robertson remote for the autopilot. Essentially, you just steer the boat with this thumb wheel here. You do 99.9% of all steering with this one little black thumb wheel. The other 2 big chrome steering wheels are decoration, basically. Going through the control panel up here, we have the second Furuno GPS. This is the displays for the CATs, 3806 CATs. Fully digital control with all digital display on it. We have another Icom 604 with the integrated DSC for emergency reporting. To the right, we have another Simrad rudder display, and we have the similar displays we did below of the speed and depth. Up here we have a traditional Ritchie compass, and then below that a Danforth digital compass. They both tend to tell you the same information. There's also up here an apparent wind indicator that gives you the relative wind off the bow and indicated wind speed. To the right is the Nauticomp display that repeats from the lower computer navigation station, and that display shows not only navigation but also shows depth, not depth, but AIS of other vessels approaching you. From the bridge here, we can start the boat. We have start for both the port and starboard, the same Cobalt control systems as below. And to the right, we have control of the bow thruster as well as the windlass, activation of the stabilizer, and fans for the bridge here and the wiper on the bridge. We have a hard glass center glass that really is quite handy when you're running in rough seas. To the right is a repeater for the Furuno radar, and also shows depth, and that's our primary depth indicator on the boat on the bridge. Below that is a second radar. It's an Icom radar that I use 10 for short range or close proximity. Below it and to the right is something pretty unique on this size boat. It's a Class A AIS, which is a full transponder Class A, not a Class B, but Class A, which is the large ship grade AIS, which provides the largest and longest transmission of your position. And you're also seen by the state ferries, which you're not seen on Class B. Very few people are aware of that. To the left of it, we have 2 helm stations, seats. And the one on the left is a STID helm seat, which is the top of the line seat for operating a vessel. If we look to the left in the cockpit here, we have a large settee, and that's worked out really well. Sometimes we have kids on board, and the kids like to come up and stay here overnight on the sleeping bags. But it's also great for cocktail hour, and all of the isinglass slides back, opens up for lots of air, and a table that reverts left and right 90 degrees depending how you want to have it set up. I did want to mention that under the settee is significant storage areas, so each of those cushions comes up and there's a tremendous amount of storage area under all the cushions. And coming with the boat also is a full set of furniture for the aft deck. It's a round wood table and chairs so that when the tender's off, you can set up the deck and have chairs out on the sun deck. Panning up a little bit, you'll see that we have a fixed-mounted 406 EPIRB emergency reporting system through satellite system, and a full storage for fishing rods and holders. Probably put about a dozen fishing rods in there for fishing. As we go out to the back deck here, we have a very large area for sitting. This area is where the tender would be stored while underway, and there's a crane that puts a tender up on the boat. I might mention in the back deck there you see some silver stanchions. That's where the stanchions go that would support the tender when the tender is not in the water. It's up on the back deck, and the back railing completely lifts off for storage so that it makes it open there, makes it easier bringing the tender in and out. But the life rails are handy to keep people from stepping over the side on their third cocktail. Scuppers in the back to drain the back deck, and the hydraulic crane system has been really handy as opposed to the more common electric ones, and it really helps get the tender up in a quick and very easy way to do it. Up on the top deck, you can see the electronic system. We have two stabilized, gyro stabilized antenna. One is for the television HD dish network through a CTEL system, and secondly we have a KVH SATCOM system that does both voice and data. So you've got worldwide communication on the boat through KVH, and then North American coverage of HD television with Dish Network. I found the northern practical range is about Port Hardy for HD TV, and at this time the satellites don't go north of Port Hardy, and we tend to bring DVDs or Apple TV type of thing for movies north of Port Hardy if that's your pleasure. This outlet on the bridge is for a fairly large freezer we keep up here when we go to Alaska, and that provides power for both 24 volt or 12 volt and 117. And that freezer, I don't know how many cubic feet it is, but it holds a lot of fish or stores. And we have a similar size freezer that we carry down in the lazarette. So altogether we've got multiple freezers on the boat that no need to make stops at the shore to get food, because this boat, generally when we go to Alaska, we've got all the food on board we need for the trip, with the exception of the fresh vegetables. We're now down in the engine room of Companionship, and Companionship sports a pair of Cat 3806 twin turbo 800 horsepower diesels. And one of the reasons I zeroed in on Companionship specifically is it's one of the very few 58s that have the big Cat turbo diesels and the hardtop. I think there are only 2 or maybe 3 altogether in the fleet of 58s. She idles very comfortably at about 1250 RPM, and that gives us about 10 or 12 knots. And that's generally what our cruise speed is. I think I've had it up to about 27 knots. And at that, you're 50 plus gallons an hour. But we've done most of our cruising around 1250 RPM, and that's just about a gallon per nautical mile, pretty close to that. The tankage on the boat is a pair of 500 gallon diesel tanks with sight gauges, and I really appreciate having sight gauges to confirm the fuel level. In the engine room forward, we have the controls for the Cobalt engine, and we have a separate set of engine controls down here for emergency use, forward, aft, and throttle. And we also have good access to the steering pumps for the hydraulic steering, and access to the stabilizers for servicing the stabilizers, and the liquid systems in the engines. In the upper right, I don't know if Fred can get it, you'll see the red halon, which is fully automatic and will trigger in the event of a fire down below, and with indications up on the master control area for the status of the halon system. We'll reverse the camera here and take a picture of the two generators and give you a better feeling of how the access to the engine room is obtained. Looking aft on the starboard side, which would be on your left side, is the 20 kW generator. That's a Northern Light generator, and with remote start on it. And that on top has something every boat should have, is a vise in the engine room. I've always wanted a boat big enough to have a vise in the engine room, and that's what we have here. On the other side is the 10 kW Onan generator, and that provides good backup power. We do have a electric barbecue on the boat, which we use a lot, and the generators provide all the power we need for the refrigeration and the barbecue at the same time. Looking up from that, you'll see a oil change system, and a very neat system that changes all the oil and the hydraulics on the boat, and that's been very, very useful. In the aft of each engine, you could see there is a new, relatively new dripless shafts that are in there, and that really helps keep the engine room dry and clean, and has been a real benefit. That's the engine room on companionship. We're now down in the lazarette, which is a enormous aft storage area in the boat, accessed from the back deck. And you'll be looking at the freshwater system that makes salt water into fresh water. And there's also one of our freezers that we carry on board that runs both on 117 and 12 volts. As we continue looking at the lazarette, going to the right, you'll see that we have several charging systems. We have separate charging and separate batteries for start batteries for both engines and the generators. So that's independent of the house batteries. And we have 3 inverter systems. They're all true sine wave inverter systems, providing very stable power. One is intended primarily for the navigation system. The other primary inverter, and it's a new one put in September of 19, Magnum inverter, sine wave. And the purpose of that is to provide house power to things like the house lights, refrigeration, entertainment system. And finally, we have new L16 batteries that are used to provide house batteries, and those were new in September of 19. And in the starboard aft corner, you can see the rest of the Glendinning power retract system, which is very, very convenient. As you come to shore, the thing automatically reels out and reels in, and makes it much easier than hooking up and carrying power cords around. We also have a spare 50 amp extension power cord and a 25 50 amp extension power cord with the boat. That pretty well completes the tour of companionship. One thing that's not shown here are all of the spares, filters, tools, parts, liquids that will come with the boat. And not shown is the tender and the Yamaha outboard. that will be included with companionship. One thing we've really enjoyed having on the back of the boat is this separate control station, which makes it really easy for docking. You also have control of the bow thruster, and basically you can walk with this control station, the bow thruster, you can walk the boat in sideways to a dock, even in less than ideal conditions. And it's sure been an excellent plus in operating the boat. Again, there are digital controls, so there's no lag effect. It's all digital controlled, so there's no cables or things that make it a slow reaction time. As we move to the right, one of our other favorite things in the boat we use a lot is our barbecue. And didn't realize how much we would use the barbecue, but it really works well. You can do a really nice hot seared steak with this. There's also a hot plate to the right to keep food warm there. And neat thing on the as we go to the right here, the double French doors I mentioned earlier opens up and gives you a lot of air and light, and kind of opens the main salon to the back deck for entertaining, and that's worked out really well. There's a freshwater hot and cold sink on the back deck, and the ship's bell that says it's time to call it a wrap, and hope you enjoyed the tour of companionship. If you have any further questions, you can reach myself, Bob Brunkow, at 360-201-5566, or Randy Cowley, the broker, at Randy Cowley & Associates, who can certainly answer any of your questions as well.